Today I'm going to talk about the new old turntable that I purchased. It's the Sony PS-LX510. Recently I started putting together a budget stereo component system, and I was looking for a turntable, and I was looking at the budget range, like 300 and less, and I was set to get an Audio-Technica AT-LP60X, but I started looking at vintage stuff. I figured, if it wasn't hard to work on, and that would probably be the way to go. And I pulled the trigger on this Sony here, and I wanted something cheap because this is a family stereo system. I have an 11-year-old son. He's going to use it. This kind of fit the bill. So basically, for about the same cost as I could have bought the Audio-Technica AT-LP60X, I got this turntable here. It was on eBay. It was advertised as working, so I pulled the trigger. As it turns out, it's worked out pretty well. This is what's called a linear tracking tone arm. The supposed advantage of these, they don't make these anymore. This unit is from probably 1984 or 1985, made in Japan. These linear tracking tone arms, the advantage from what I've read is that they track the record grooves very well and evenly. So whereas a traditional turntable tone arm, as it gets to the middle, it starts kind of riding against one side of the groove. So the sound you're getting from the songs that are kind of on the towards the outside they actually sound better than what you get to the inside. The linear tracking tone arm supposedly kind of evens that out. It tracks evenly throughout the record. However, they don't make them anymore, and I have a feeling because it's kind of expensive. It's a mechanical thing. You have a tone arm that needs to kind of track to the left as it's playing the record, and I just don't think there's a market for them. I don't know if this was ever really considered audiophile, quality, but for me it's good. And the advantage of going with something vintage like this over something newer, especially in the budget price range, is that the speed at which they play the record is more accurate. There's less variation or wow and flutter in these older units than there are in the newer made in China units. For instance, the Audio-Technica AT-LP60X that I was looking at, that had a wow and flutter rating of 0.25%, whereas this Sony PS-LX510 has a wow and flutter rating of 0.03%, which is considerably better. Anyways, so the only thing I did after I bought this is I replaced the cartridge. So I got the cheapest cartridge I could for this turntable, and that is the Audio-Technica AT81CP. It is a what do they call it? A P-mount, and I think I got it on eBay for like $29 or something like that. It's a conical stylus, and it works fine. Another thing I did was I replaced the belt that controls this tone arm mechanism, and it seemed to work. It seemed to work fine as soon as I got it. There was a little bit of issue at first with the tone arm not moving or getting stuck. The new belt helped, and also setting the tracking force a little bit higher, which you do on the side of the tone arm here. And really the maximum tracking force you can get out of this tone arm is, I think, 1.5 grams or something like that. So I just have it at the max, and it doesn't seem to have any problem. It plays the record throughout, and the tone arm just works. So I think maybe it was in storage for a while, and it needed to just kind of go through the motions a little bit. Now it's operating smoothly. So this is a fully automatic turntable, and it has this feature where, I don't know if you can see it. So there's these little kind of slots in the I guess the turntable platter, or the plate, whatever you call it. And there's this light here, and the rubber mat that comes with it, when you put it on, you're supposed to kind of align the holes. If I can find, there we go. So what this does is it kind of automatically determines the size of the record. So if you have a record that's covering all the holes, it knows that it's an LP or a 12-inch disc. If you have a single and it's only covering these holes here, it knows that, and so it just basically knows where to drop the needle when you hit the play button. So just some of the controls. Here's the speed selector. You have 45 and 33. This is repeat. So if you want the record to keep repeating, this is what you hit. This is the arm lifter. So you can manually move the arm to whatever song you want. You just lift the tone arm and then you move it this way or that way using these buttons. And then this is just the start and stop. So if you want fully automatic, you just put the record on and you hit stop. So a lot of the records I buy like at the secondhand shop or Goodwill, and I didn't really want to spend that much on a turntable, or the cartridge for that matter. So the way this works, and by the way, this is Stephen Stills' band from the 70s called Manassas, and I don't think you can go wrong with Stephen Stills in the 70s. Anything he did in the 70s was good, so I recommend it. But this record I did get secondhand, and it's got a lot of pops and scratches, and it's a little bit warped. And this turntable does pretty well with warped records. So I'm going to place it on, and I'm going to show you how the automatic works. So it's going to automatically detect that this is a 12-inch record. And there it goes. And I will stop playing because I don't want to have the copyright police to ding me. So anyways, and this is a fairly warped record. It's not too bad, but it's warped enough that there is an issue. So the second side, you'll notice the way it spins, and that's my only gripe about this. If you have a really, really badly warped record, it's going to it's going to hit the tone arm, because the tone arm's pretty low, and that's what happens with this record right here, like on the second side. So that is something to be aware about with these old ones. You can have a warped record, a little slight warp, but major warp is not good. Now, one issue that I noticed very early on with this turntable is the auto detection of record size. It worked well in the 70s and 80s when all records were black, but these newer records, like this one, Sun Ra, it is a clear vinyl record, as you can see. I'm going to put it on and show you what happens when I try to play it automatically. It doesn't know what to do. So the workaround for this, and this will only work with 12-inch records, is these holes here, you cover them up. So you turn the rubber mat slightly so the holes are covered up, and it just thinks, the turntable just thinks that it automatically assumes the record is 12-inch. So that's how that works. I haven't had a turntable since probably the mid-90s, so getting back into vinyl records today, the landscape's a little bit different. Let me just say that. A lot of records today, first of all, you have the clear vinyl, or you have like colored vinyl that's still sort of see-through. And popular these days is 180 gram vinyl, which is kind of like a little bit thicker than the records of that you probably bought in the 70s and 80s. So I don't really know what the advantages of the 180 gram are. I mean, I would think they sound the same. Maybe there's less warping possibility with the thicker 180 gram vinyl. So, it's been kind of fun. I'm building up my record collection, getting some all different types of music, both new and old. It's been fun. I can't say that, vinyl sounds better than, say, CDs, but to me it does sound a little bit warmer. Whether it's better or not, that's really hard to say, but I've enjoyed just hearing music on vinyl, and it's a little bit of a nostalgia thing too. I mean, the thing I like about vinyl is, you comes with a sleeve with artwork that you can actually look at or see. It's not like a little tiny square that you get on a CD. It's a little bit more tangible, and I like the fact that you kind of get this intermission halfway through the record. You have to stop and turn it over. I kind of like the limitations of the format. I like the fact that records are generally like 22, 21, 22 minutes on each side. I like the fact that the artist has kind of a limited amount of space to put their stuff. I found when CDs became popular, like in the 80s and 90s, albums just got way too long. I don't know, I like the short. I guess, again, it's a nostalgia thing, but the experience of playing a record is really enjoyable for me. I buy used. There's a store called Half Price Books in Texas where I live. That's a good source. I haven't gone to Goodwill yet, but those are good places to go to see what you can find. I mean, you might deal with a lot of scratches and you might have to clean the record a bit, but that's part of it. So online, I bought a couple of used records from a place called Discogs, and I'll put some links below. I bought this there. It's the Moody Blues Days of Future Past album. Good album. Has orchestration mixed in with the band, so I thought it would be kind of fun for to play on the turntable. And then for new records, I bought Amazon, Walmart, and Target, believe it or not, have record collections now, and pretty decent ones. They are expensive, so if you're getting into this hobby, just know that vinyl's expensive. The best deals these days are really CDs and cassettes. And then there's a website I've ordered from called millionsofrecords.com. They have new records, and they have pretty good prices, so I would check them out. That is the Sony PSLX 510. Thanks for hearing me ramble. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll talk to you soon.